Hello and welcome to the sick version of the Mandalorian Review Show on the Merc with the Movie Blog podcast feed. Every week we review each episode of Disney Plus's The Mandalorian, and this is the last one. I am one of your hosts, Shawn, and I am slightly sick. And as always, I'm joined by Jay Wade, who is very sick. How's it going, Wade?
Oh man, you said it, dude. I have been knocked on my ass all week, dude. And the only saving grace for me now is that we finally have the final chapter of Boba Fett season 1.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Boba Fett a little bit later. But today we're covering The Mandalorian Chapter 8, Redemption, directed by Taika Waititi and written by Jon Favreau. When I saw the word redemption pop up on screen, it hurt my heart a little bit. General discussion. What was your short impressions of the episode, Wade?
I absolutely loved it, dude. There was stuff in this episode that I've been waiting and wanting to see in Star Wars for so long. And then there was stuff in this that I didn't realize I wanted to see. I didn't realize that could be done in the manner that it was. So just wow, man. Really, really loved this episode so much.
Yes, my favorite episode of the entire show. I want to talk about a couple quick spoiler things, not so much in detail, but before we go in detail, I do want to talk about I loved them taking off Din Djarin's mask. I thought that was done very well because I liked that it wasn't like here's the big reveal of the person. It's like, no, there is a person under that mask, but they're just a person. Like, It wasn't some big fanfare moment. It was, there's a person under there, and this is. And I mean,
he looked like a normal, regular guy, dude. It was not like, like this is going to be some amazing something. I don't know, but it was a regular guy underneath that mask, dude, and he was hurting.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved buff R2D2.
That was really weird. That was off-putting, to be honest, but it was kind of cool.
It was cool, and at the same time, I was like, I don't know if I like this, but I do. It was new and it was weird, and I like new and weird things in Star Wars. I liked I liked how this episode took its time. It didn't rush to the finish. I think this was the longest episode, and I mean, we spend like half of it just in this one location in that bar.
Yeah, in action. Almost 20-25 minutes of non-stop action, dude.
Yeah, and it's awesome. I loved
violent action.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
All right, let's talk a little bit in depth then. We're going to get into the in-depth. We're going to take the break after the in-depth, but let's talk in depth about the show. You wanted to talk about the opening scene.
Yes. Okay. So this opening scene starts, and I'm thinking back to Ragnarok, and I'm thinking back to how this reminds me a little bit of it. I mean, not a lot, but I mean, I know Taika was the man behind that Thor movie, so I get the connection there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the first time I saw Ragnarok, I didn't care for it. I love that fucking movie.
Yeah.
So it definitely grew on me, but I got that feeling, that little bit of feeling from the humor and stuff, and I was not put off by it at all. I was in love with this scene, every aspect of this scene. This is going to upset you probably, but I thought it was great when he kept hitting Baby Yoda in the head.
I thought
that
it was so
awesome.
funny. It was funny, but it made me hate him.
Yeah, but I was kind of waiting for, like, one of the times when he'd hit him, just some sort of force thing to knock him on his ass. But this opening scene, the thing it did for me the most is it made me want a series done by Taika about a unit of stormtroopers.
Yes, please.
Yes, and I want it to be like in the vein of this scene of just what are stormtroopers like as individuals and not as a stormtrooper. Highlight their personalities. The fact that they're like, they're like, man, Moff killed one of his own guys. Jeez, dude. Just that banter and everything in that was just gold. And it made me want an entire series done by Taika about just following one unit of stormtroopers and focusing more so on them and their personalities and stuff like that. It was just, I loved that scene. It just was so great.
Yeah, I absolutely adored that scene. It felt very reminiscent of like Get Help in Ragnarok when Thor and Loki are in the elevator. Let's do Get Help. No, we're not going to do Get Help. Just you're in this situation and the characters are just talking to each other and like reminiscing almost with each other. I liked how the stormtroopers talked about Moff Gideon. Like,
yeah,
you really want to piss him off? He just killed an officer because he
interrupted him.
Yeah.
Which I will admit, when they ended up going back to the scene in the city with Moff Gus, I was looking around on the ground for that dead officer who interrupted him.
So was I. Well, I was waiting for it to happen. I thought it was going to be like both scenes happened at the same time.
Oh, I see.
So I was waiting for somebody to interrupt him during his big speech and for him to just shoot them, but it never happened. I loved the, like, he just killed an entire squadron of stormtroopers to prove a point. Like,
yeah. It totally reminds you of me. It was reminding me of, like, I could see some old Nazi soldiers standing around, like, dude, I am not gonna fuck with Hitler. That dude just fucking killed his own man just to prove a point. It's like, dude, are you going to question this guy? Yeah. I'm just going to follow my orders, man. I know what's going on.
Yeah, I'd love and it doesn't have to be the same troops. Like, I'd almost like it where it's like, all right, so each episode 1, Death Star. Episode 2, Battle of Hoth. And you just follow a group of stormtroopers in these scenarios. So the first episode is just 22 minutes of the stormtroopers on the Death Star during A New Hope, leading up to it exploding at the very end.
Dude, that's great. I like that.
But, like something like that, like various scenarios. And then the season finale could be Death Star 2, where they're like, come on, there's no way it's going to happen again. We got the Death Star. Yeah. It's not even done building yet. If it's going to happen, I'm going to transfer off when it's done so that, the rebels don't attack it once it's done and I don't get killed. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine. And then it gets blown up again.
And have one of them say, hey, I was just wondering, how did they build this thing so fast?
Yeah. Just all that meta, like, hey, why is the Emperor here this time? You hear about that? Like,
and it would also be great to see, to play a little bit off of that, Kylo Ren SNL sketch, the boss, because Undercover Boss sketch, as far as like, get a glimpse of what the stormtroopers do on their off time. What does the Death Star have on it? I mean, it's a huge thing, and the Empire doesn't really care about their soldiers, but at the same time, there has to be some form of entertainment there. There have to be some shops where they can buy things they need. There has to be something on that Death Star that caters to the troopers that does not have to do with all war and stuff.
All right, Wade, here's my pitch. The episode, right, for episode 1, it's the entire episode plays out. It's just a bunch of stormtroopers on the Death Star, and they're going through their day, and they're kind of talking, and they've got their friendships or whatever. And in the background, if you pay attention, you'd notice that the events of A New Hope are happening alongside it, but it's not obvious. And then the final scene of the episode is they're bowling after work, right? They're having a couple beers. There's a bowling alley, and one of the stormtroopers, throws the ball down the whatever. It hits a strike, and as soon as it hits a strike, it cuts to the wide shot of the Death Star and it explodes.
Oh, I love that, dude. I love that so much. Please, Taika, do this for us.
Just that. So we talked a whole lot about that. The stormtroopers, such a small part of the episode, but such a highlight. I loved IG-11 kind of just riding through the city with Baby Yoda on the front.
That was amazing.
Kalyn was not able to make it today, but she had wanted to talk about the armorer kicking ass.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was awesome. I love she doesn't say a word until it starts, and that was maybe the most brutal action we've ever had in Star Wars.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, she was flat out crushing their face masks of their helmets, dude. Yeah. I mean, she was ruining them.
Yeah.
And the one she threw into the forge, that was like, oh, hell yeah. He started to melt. Yo, yeah, he disappeared, dude. He disappeared because you know that forge is not deep enough for an entire 5 foot whatever stormtrooper to just completely sink into. No. That motherfucker melted, dude.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That's my new favorite line. That motherfucker melted, dude.
Oh, that was so great. I mean, in he went and he was gone.
All right. I want to ask you about, because I saw some people talking about it. I think it was a little unclear. So did all of the Mandalorians die fighting, or did they like take off their armor and flee?
I took it as they died fighting, and the armor, likely the armor went and salvaged their armor and took it down there in order to salvage what she could. Because the only other option I could think of if they were killed in battle would be that the Empire or the remnants of the Empire that they threw all their armor down there. But one, they wouldn't care enough to do that. And two, even if they did care enough to do that, they wouldn't place it in a nice, neat pile like that.
No.
Because we hear about the creed of the Mandalores. I cannot imagine them taking off their armor and fleeing. So
I'm on the same page as you are. I thought they got killed and she, took their armor back. I did see some people coming up with the idea that maybe once things got really hot, like the armor pretty much told them, like, you can reject the creed now and leave. And that's why she was able to have so much of the armor in such a neat pile. And like, it wasn't because the idea that she was able to recover that much armor from a battle is a little odd. Yeah. But I read the scene as more of what you were talking about. I just wanted to bring it up and see what you were thinking about that. I want to talk about, all right, let's talk about the ending.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the fucking Darksaber. I shit you not. I was watching the show and the movie. It felt like a movie. I was watching the show, and when Mando flew off, I was like, all right, I'm waiting for the tease of what's next. Give me a good cliffhanger. And I thought we were going to see Boba Fett, to be honest. Speaking of seeing characters, I was completely wrong about Obi-Wan, but also I'm pretty sure I said that it was probably going to be Mandalorians most likely that saved him. So I was still kind of right, but I got to admit I was wrong about Obi-Wan. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. We see the TIE fighter. You see the at first I thought he had like what IG-11 had on his hand when he
like a blowtorch.
Like a blowtorch. And he was like, and then I saw the tip come through. And I was like, holy fuck. I yelled. I was like, holy shit. I lost my shit. Fucking Moff Gideon comes out of that thing and he's holding the motherfucking Darksaber.
Dude, that was awesome. That was really, really awesome. And my first thought when I saw the Darksaber pushing through was there is no doubt in my mind now that we will be seeing, at least in flashbacks next season, Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan.
Yeah, I would not. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. In fact, I want to talk about what were your thoughts when you saw the Darksaber? I don't want to talk too much about the future because we're going to talk about that when we come back from break. But because immediate thought when you saw the Darksaber, what went through your head?
Other than pure excitement, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I mean, it was so exciting to see the saber in live action.
Yeah.
And then there's just so many thoughts, like questions as to where did he get the saber? What does he have to do with the Mandalorians, if any? Is he maybe a former Mandalorian? He's at least obsessed with Mandalorian culture.
Yeah.
And he dude, he knows Boba's real name. The Mandalorian's real name. So he knows a lot about Mandalores. Or Mandalorian culture, at least. So it just started raising all these questions and excitement for possible answers. And are we going to see more Mandalorians next season? Just that kind of stuff. Like, what are we going to get into from here that has to do specifically with Mandalorians?
And we will talk about all that stuff when we come back from break. We're going to take a quick break, though, to hear about some other Merc with the Movie blog shows.
Hello, everybody. Jay Wade
and Kalyn here
to tell you about SEN Afterlive.
It's an after-show podcast where we expand on the week of craziness on SEN Live, as well as have guests on to join in the fun.
Yep, and we get personal, too. We do movie reviews, and at times we go way off the rails, which I guarantee is always Kalyn's fault.
Hey, how rude and not true. So, come join us on the Merc with the Movie blog feed, and remember to rate, share, and subscribe, and as always, enjoy.
Hi everyone, this is Sarah, host of Go Get That Rose podcast, a podcast that is dedicated to talking about all things Bachelor Nation. Join Jay Wade, a man in his 40s who is recently new to all things Bachelor Nation, and myself, someone who has been watching passionately for the past 3 years, as we review, share our thoughts on each episode of whatever show is currently on TV, whether that is Bachelor, Bachelorette, or Bachelor in Paradise. We might not even know everyone's name, but we have fun nonetheless. You can find us on Merc with a Movie blog feed wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey there, Schmodown fans. This is Josh the Merc Rainer, and I am here to tell you about my show, Talkin' Schmodown. Whether it's Andrew Guy getting hit with a chair, John Roca screaming, "Outlaw!" or the emotional retirement of the Shire Wolves, I talk about it all. So you can catch me right here on Anchor and all the other major podcasting platforms. So, as I ask every episode, are you ready to talk Schmodown? I am.
Hey, it's Sarah, and I'd like to tell you about Afterlife. It's a weekly Collider Live after-show podcast where Mike, Shawn, and I give our takes on Roxy and Dorinda's antics, on Yodi's producing skills, and whatever Cody and Alex are up to in that booth. In addition to having guests, we expand on the crew's discussions and add our own craziness in the mix. You can find the show on Merc with a Movie blog feed on all the podcasting platforms. See you soon!
All right, we're back. Check out those shows. They're great. This is the last one of ours. It's bittersweet.
Till next season.
Till next season.
Fall.
We'll be here
2020.
next season. I'll be here next season. We'll see. I have it kind of listed in the breakdown a little bit differently, but I'm going to move things around. Let's talk about looking forward really quick, and let's continue our discussion about the Darksaber and what's possibly coming forward. I 100% agree. But I don't think we're getting it in flashbacks. I think Bo-Katan is going to be in the next season of The Mandalorian. Katie Sackhoff. I think that she's not dead, but I think that we are going to find her maybe in a Luke Skywalker from The Last Jedi-esque situation where she was not able to reunite the clans of Mandalore after the events of Rebels. After the events of Rebels, she was not able to reunite the clans. Obviously, Moff Gideon was an ISB agent during the Galactic Civil War, and he somehow got his hands on the Darksaber. And I think we're going to see a kind of depressed, or not depressed, but like out of the fight, Bo-Katan, who will get inspired to rejoin the fight. I also think that I don't think this, but I think that there's a really good opportunity for a cohesive story being told over multiple forms of media for them to show Moff Gideon in the Siege of Mandalore in Clone Wars in February.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
show him as a member of the Republic before the Imperials, before they become the Empire, because, in Clone Wars, we saw Tarkin when he was still a captain. So I think a really good way, he eventually becomes the ISB agent that's assigned to Mandalore. So let's, show that he has experience with the Mandalorians. When we get to the Siege of Mandalore, I think it would be great if Moff Gideon shows up as like Captain Gideon of the Republic at that point.
Wow. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. And I don't, I'm trying to figure out, I would much rather prefer Bo-Katan as not in flashback form, obviously. Yeah. But I don't know. That's something we're going to have to wait to see. But without doubt, she will be in next season.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way she doesn't.
Yeah, and just I can picture Katie Sackhoff in my mind in that series, in this series, and it's blowing my mind just thinking about, dude. But then another thing that we're definitely going to be getting into is the Mandalorian trying to get Baby Yoda back to his people, to his kind.
Jedi. Yes.
Well, that's an interpretation thing. Christian Harloff was talking about this the other day, and he was kind of under the impression too that the armor meant get him back to his kind, as in the Jedi, the Force users. But I took it as surface level, get him back to his kind, as in his species.
I think that either way would end up working. I do think that the armor very specifically talks about Baby Yoda's people being a group of sorcerer Jedis, not being this race. So I do think in that moment they're talking about the Jedi. I do think we're going to get some Baby Yoda species background next season. I think for sure.
Yeah.
I guess what I saw somebody say is that this season felt like a pilot episode.
That's kind of like I was saying last week, how this whole season to me felt like a mini series leading up to the actual series start.
Yeah. I hope that they really go with it, because I'm going to put my foot in my mouth like I did with Obi-Wan. I think next season we see live action Ahsoka and Sabine looking for Ezra. I don't think we're going to get the Ezra stuff in this show, but I do think that the Mandalorian is going to run across Ahsoka when looking for Baby Yoda's people, because I don't think we're going to see Luke. I think that he's the obvious other choice, but I don't think we're going to do that. I think he's going to come across Ahsoka, trying to find somebody to train Baby Yoda in the ways of the Force, and with Sabine, I think he's going to run into her, and that's going to tie into Bo-Katan and the Darksaber.
Yeah, I was about to ask, just because it's been so long since the Rebels finale, I couldn't remember, was it just Thrawn and Ezra who ended up going, or did Sabine go with them too?
So Thrawn and Ezra blasted themselves out into the unknown regions. And then the end of the show was a little bit after the Battle of Endor, long enough that it's implied that it's been long enough since the Battle of Endor that Hera had a kid, and the kid is 1 or 2 years old. So it's 2 or 3 years after the Battle of Endor, which is 5 years after the Battle of Endor, the show we just watched. So it's 2 years after the Battle of Endor, and Sabine is setting off with Ahsoka to go look for Ezra.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember where Sabine was at the end of that. So, but yeah, I would love to see Sabine in live action too. I love Sabine; she's great.
Yeah, and just with the timeline lining up the way that it does, with them setting off to find Ezra being so close in the timeline to when this show takes place, I would not be surprised if. I still think the actual finding of Ezra is going to be done in an animated show, but I think we might get before that. We'll get a 2-episode little arc with Sabine and Ahsoka. I think that's going to happen. Of course, I'm going to be wrong, like I was wrong about Obi-Wan.
Well, that's our dude. That was a solid Obi-Wan theory. We weren't the only people who thought that. So,
and I think this is more likely than Obi-Wan happening.
Yeah, and Death Watch actually made a lot more sense.
Yes.
And that was another thing I was going to say. Something I was a little critical of the whole, is the Mandalorian a badass or a babysitter?
Yeah.
But when we saw when we saw the clip of the Mandalorian carrying the baby Mandalorian. What's our Mandalorian's name again?
Din Djarin.
See, I don't give a shit about names all that much, man. I just watch it and I know who they're talking about. But when he was a child and in that scene with the Death Watch holding him and carrying him out of danger, it made perfect sense as to why this Mandalorian is so protective over Baby Yoda. Perfect sense.
And when it comes to the name and Din Djarin, I like that moment in regards to, I don't really care about the name, but I like the moment combined with taking off the mask to show that this is just a person.
Although I do want to say one thing about how Pedro looks.
Yes.
I was a little let down because I've said before how much of a sexy motherfucker he was in Game of Thrones. That's the Pedro I was hoping to see. But which is good that we didn't, because it was cool that, you know, he had a little bit longer hair. It fit well, but in my mind, when they're taking off that helmet, I'm just stuck on the Red Viper. I'm like, yeah, here we go, sexy motherfucker. And then they take off the helmet, and I'm like, dude, he's fucked up.
Yeah. Dude, he's fucked up. I like that. So another thing that was set up in this season, we have not yet seen the fruits of it, but Boba Fett's still out there.
Yeah. I'm not really surprised that we didn't see anything else from him this season. I think that was just I always took that as just a little like here it is, we're planting this seed right here, right now, but we're not gonna reap the benefits of it until next season. So I personally was always under that impression that this was just planting a seed that would become fruitful in the future.
I'm not surprised that we didn't see the Mandalorian, the Boba Fett. I'm not surprised we didn't see Boba Fett. I am a little surprised that this big tease that they then dropped was in episode 5 instead of being like episode 7 or 8. Like that, I could have imagined it being like we see Moff Gideon with the Darksaber. We cut to credits, and then at the end of the credits, do a post-credit scene of just Boba Fett walking up to. It didn't have to be exactly Fennec Shand, but just then teasing it. I think that might have worked a little bit better to just put it in another episode or later in the show. But
it did make sense in the way, or from the point of view that it was on they were on Tatooine.
Yeah.
So that made sense because of the location. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. It just seemed like a little bit too early in the season for that tease.
Or just tease it again at the very end, or tease it again at the end of episode 7. Like even if you just had during the standoff, you just showed the back of Boba Fett watching from a distance, and that was it. And then that was the last we saw of him for the rest of the season. I just feel like I felt like it should have come back towards the end to remind you that yes, this is a plot thread that we are still going to examine, instead of just it being at the end of episode 5 and then never touched on again. But I'm going to bring up a theory to you. I saw somebody read this or say this. What if it's not Boba Fett? What if it's Bo-Katan?
Well, did Bo-Katan have Jingle Bell boots?
I don't know, but I think it's Boba Fett. I really do. But I like the idea that maybe that's tying into the Darksaber stuff, and that Bo-Katan, this would not be exactly the idea that I had with the character earlier, but maybe Bo-Katan is kind of out there trying to reform the clans, get the Darksaber back, out for revenge. And it was just a theory I read. I lean towards it more being Boba Fett. I think it is Boba Fett, but I wanted to hear what you kind of thought about maybe possibly that being instead Bo-Katan.
It's possible, yes. The only thing that would deter me from that are the Jingle Bell boots.
Yeah, me too.
Just because that sound is so iconic.
Yes.
But then it makes me wonder, if this is Boba Fett and we see him come into next season, how is he going to be treated by the Mandalores?
I think he's
because
going
according to new canon, he's kind of considered to be a rip-off loser, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that the most likely way that Boba Fett is used is as a brute for Gideon, for somebody the Mandalorian Din Djarin to fight, because he's not going to fight Gideon. Maybe they'll have a duel. Maybe he'll get like a piece of metal and fight the Darksaber. But like, we're not going to see an action sequence with what's his name, Giancarlo Esposito. So I think maybe they bring in Boba Fett as the heavy to work with Moff Gideon and to kind of be the person, like the rival that Din Djarin can fight a couple times throughout the season.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you bring up the thing with the Darksaber and Moff Gus. What about hold on. One of my favorite characters, and I can't say the name right. Damn, being sick. What if Ahsoka goes up against the Darksaber in the hands of Moff Gus? Dude, that could be cool.
I think that would be the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. I don't want to hope for it because then it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think Ahsoka and Sabine are going to be used in a kind of separated from the main plot way, where it's Ahsoka will be used as a way to explain to the Mandalorian more about the Force for Baby Yoda, and Sabine will be kind of the middle ground between the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan's involvement in the show. I think they'll be in like an episode, maybe two, for short scenes to just set up the rest to bridge the Mandalorian with the other parts of the Star Wars universe.
That makes sense.
They'll be the bridge between those two things. So let's move on from season 2. We're very excited we'll be here. Let's talk about season 1 in review. Overall, I loved the season. I thought it dragged a bit in the middle. It's about 5.5 hours. I did the math total. I'd be interested to watch it all in one go. And see if the middle bugs me less, since it's kind of like the middle part of a movie.
Right.
What did you think overall, quickly, on the whole season?
Overall, I loved it. I'm not gonna, if you're asking me what do you think of the overall season, I'm not gonna shit on it at all.
Yeah.
But like you, there are moments, especially in the middle episodes, that I just cringe even thinking about. Things that I didn't enjoy whatsoever, but overall, I have not one single complaint in me for this series. I am all in and cannot wait until fall 2020. Bring that shit back.
Me too. I am ready. All right, let's talk about our rankings of the episodes for season 1. Do you want to go spot by spot, or do you want to just have each of us read their lists and then like one at a time, the entire list one at a time?
However you want to do it, buddy.
Let's do spot by spot. What's your number 8?
Number 8 being my least favorite.
Yes.
That would be episode 5, the Tatooine episode. Yeah. What now, Mando?
Yep.
How many times are you gonna? I don't know. Just Mando. What's up, Mando? What took you so long, Mando? What are we gonna do, Mando? Oh, we're just gonna ride our speeder bikes across the open desert, Mando. It's just like, dude, come on. That
is
episode,
also my number 8.
Yeah, that's my number 8.
All right, what's your number 7?
I would have to go. Was it chapter 4 when they went onto the planet and
swamp
with the
place.
the swamp planet, and he met Cara Dune. That would be my number 7.
Okay, mine was chapter 6 with the prison ship.
Yep.
What's your number 6?
I would have to say the prison ship.
Okay. Mine.
That was a great episode, but I just wish Bill Burr would have played it a little more straight.
Controversial. Mine is chapter 3 at number 6. The one with the Mandalorians all fighting and him going back to return the child and all that stuff that just didn't entirely work for me. What's your number 5?
I would have to say, and I will admit, I'm sorry, Shawn. I did not prepare for this bit, so I'm
That's
literally
okay.
thinking of this off the top of my head. Trying to remember what my original list was a couple weeks ago. I don't know, man. The other episodes are all kind of even keel for me.
Okay.
Just because there were aspects of each episode that I liked, but then other I don't know. It's hard to explain, dude. I thought this bit was going to be a lot easier a couple weeks ago, to be honest. But it's one of those things where every time a new episode comes out, it makes you change your view, and it changes the way you view things in the past episodes because you learn more. And so then things that maybe didn't work for you now work. But if I had to say, shit, dude. Hell, I'm struggling here. Go ahead, dude. Do your thing and let me think for a second.
My number 5 is chapter 1. It's great. Like once you get past the chapter 5 and chapter 6, I didn't like, but once you get past that, I loved all of them. So my number 5 is chapter 1, the first episode. My number 4 was chapter 2. My number 3 was chapter 4. My number 2 was chapter 7, and my favorite episode was chapter 8 with redemption and all that.
All right. Let me do this a little bit easier for me and just go ahead and say my favorite one was my favorite chapter was chapter 8.
Okay.
Hands down.
Yeah.
My second favorite chapter was 3, when he went back and the Mandalorians all came out and helped him get away.
Okay.
I loved that. Then in my 4, the next one would be episode 1 and 2 are so close for me, man.
Yeah.
But I would, because I love the introduction of the Mandalorian, but then I really liked episode 2 with that Mad Max style Jawa scene with the crawler.
Yeah.
I think I'll go. My next favorite would be the chapter 2 and then chapter 1.
Okay. And then where does chapter 7 go in all of this?
We'll put chapter 7 next in line, in between 1 and 6.
Okay. Now let's see
and
if
then 4 and 5 rounds off. I did not go in the order you requested me to.
That's
at
okay.
all, but
now let's see if I can scrounge this into being a list that I can read off. I might be able to. I have chapter 3 at number 6. You have it way up at number 2. So we'll put chapter. Where's your number? Okay, so 7 will go the second, and then 3, and then where's 1? I have 1 at 5. You have it at 4. So like right about there. 2 I have at 4. You have at 3. So that should go above. And 4, that should go there. Okay, so I'm going to read off what I did by putting our list together, and you can tell me if you agree with it or not. If one of us had it on the list higher up, then it went higher up as long as nothing was above it, if that makes sense. Yeah, number 8 was chapter 5, the Tatooine episode. Number 7 was chapter 6, the prison ship episode. Number 6 was chapter 4, the episode in the swamp. Number 5 was chapter 1. Number 4 was chapter 2. Number 3 was chapter 3. Number 2 was chapter 7. And number 1 was chapter 8.
I'm actually okay with that, man.
All right, so that's the show's final ranking of all the episodes of Mandalorian. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this adventure we went on over these 8 episodes. I'm sure we'll be back next season for season 2, fall 2020. They showed off on Instagram a little model of a Gamorrean, so we're getting a Gamorrean in season 2 at some point.
Gamorrean?
The pig things in Jabba's palace.
Oh, no shit!
Yeah, but
those were my favorite when I was a little kid, dude. Holy shit!
But the model they showed was like a buff Gamorrean. It wasn't like the fat ones, and it was weird. I'll find the picture and I'll send it to you later.
Yeah.
But why don't you go ahead and tell people where they can find you online, Wade?
Oh, y'all can find me on the Twitter at jwade1134. That is the letter J, WADE 1134. As far as shows on this podcast feed, I'm host of SEN Afterlife. I'm co-host of Go Get That Rose with Sarah, who is host of our Collider Afterlife show. And Sarah and I will be starting that up here this coming week, actually. We're recording an episode to get ready for the premiere. So, and I guarantee you this coming week's episode, if you don't like The Bachelor or anything like that, I didn't, but now it's just fun to rip on. Trust me when I say next week's episode, you guys want to listen to this. It's something has gone down and in my life, so I'll be making an announcement, and Sarah's going to be helping me out with some stuff. So it's going to be a really fun episode. So be sure and check that one out. Again, it's called Go Get That Rose. It's on this feed. But other than that,
on The Bachelor, is that the announcement?
No. I don't even know if, one, they could never handle me. And two, I don't even know what the fuck I would do, dude, because I would end up sending chicks home even if it's not a rose ceremony. Like, I can totally see me sitting there hanging out with, and just like, I would look at someone and see them acting away or hear her talking to some other girl in some shitty way, and I would just be like, okay, leave now. You know, like, I don't need the ceremony. I don't need to do all this stupid shit. I can tell just right now, I don't like you. Just go.
Would you like any of them? Be honest.
To be honest, likely not, because it's the personality. They get the same type of personality. Yeah. And I'm not knocking on the type of personality, but that type of personality is not my style.
Uh-huh.
And vice versa. I mean, I'm not going to lie, dude. Those chicks wouldn't like me either.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry to derail the conversation. I found an interesting line of questioning to go down. Is there anywhere else you want to plug before we finish?
No, man. No, we got another show in the pipeline, coming out here pretty soon. We're going to start full force called Convince Me. It's a movie debate podcast. So look out for that too. But other than that, man, no, that's what I got going on here.
All right, you guys can find me on Twitter at Shawn_AFK. Wade brought up Collider Afterlife, the unofficial Collider Live after show that we do over here at Merc with the Movie Blog. I am co-host along with Mike Mixtape over there, and Mike Mixtape and I also do a podcast called Into the Grid. We watch and recap every episode of Power Rangers Dino Thunder. We're like halfway through. It's hell on earth. Somebody save me. No, it's great. We have a bunch of fun. Wade, you will get on at some point. I'm not going to let you run.
For sure. Oh, no, dude. I have no intention of running, man. I think this will be fun. Because I've said before, I've never seen a single episode of Power Rangers ever in my life. So I think it would be a blast.
Yes, and you can find that show on Twitter at Go Into the Grid. But you can find this show and others on the Merc with the Movie Blog feed, which can be located on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Radio Public, Breaker, Overcast, and they upload a little bit behind the audio uploads. You can also find them on YouTube. So you guys can also follow Merc with the Movie Blog on Twitter with @MovieBlogMerc. Thank you guys so much for listening. We had a blast doing this show, and until next time, this is the way.